It's good to be back. It feels sometimes like a week is longer than a week. You know what I mean?
For
So,
sure.
yeah. Hey, everybody in the audience. I'm glad that you're here. So, this is our live show we do a paranormal discussion for the first 30 minutes, and then we do live readings. Hey, Mud Lover. Soapy Pac-Man, see you're back. May have to shorten your name. Soapy Pac-Man? I'm not sure. Anyway, and hey, Jason, my lover was able to get my computer fixed on Monday. Yes. So, um, and I just would wish I could reach through the phone and hug the person that fixed this, because now I don't have to wear headsets and I can hear. So anyway, we're back. And McKenna, do you have a swipe right story for us tonight?
I do have a swipe right story for us. As you all have noticed, I am in my car. I am doing the show for the next couple weeks remote. Right now, I'm in northern Idaho. It may be a different location here and there, maybe someplace exciting, but as long as they have good internet, like, we're cool. Uh, so
Awesome.
I'm particularly excited about this story because I've been to this place. I've passed by it like a bunch of different times, and I had no idea that this legend was associated with it. So next time I go through, I'm for sure gonna have to like stop and see if I can see something. So we're gonna talk about the Flathead Lake Monster. Flathead Lake, it's in Montana. It's south of Kalispell. So if any of you know about it, it's huge. It's a huge natural lake. And the Flathead Lake Monster is described as a large eel-shaped creature, cylindrical with a wavy body like a snake, 20 to 40 feet long. So definitely meets our size requirement for this series. Um, they say it has a long, let's see, having brownish or blue black skin, and gray eyes or grayish black eyes or metallic. I've actually heard some people say that the eyes look metallic, which if you've seen a fish, any sort of water dwelling creature, totally makes sense. Like, they look
Yeah.
metallic half the time or most of the time. So yeah, I've driven by Flathead Lake on my way to and from Glacier at least 5 times. So
That's
totally drove
beautiful.
by, acknowledged how beautiful it was, and had no idea that there may be a creature in there. So next time we go, I'm totally gonna look for it.
Cool.
So it's south of Kalispell. So this lake is very large. It's 197 square miles, ranging 28 miles long from top to bottom and about 15 miles wide. So the maximum depth is 370 feet down, making the lake deeper than the average depth of the Yellow Sea and the Persian Gulf. So to kind of put it in perspective, the Statue of Liberty is 305 feet tall, and Big Ben in London is 316 feet tall, or 96 meters if you are
Right.
European. So it's very, very deep, and it is a natural lake. They did put a dam in this lake. I'm not 100% sure when. I believe it was early 1900s, and it only raised to the depth about 10 feet. I mean, that is a ton of water, but considering how deep this lake is, it was just a fraction raised from what it already was. So this lake is very, very deep. So potentially able to house very large creatures. So we're going to talk a little bit about the legend. So the first reported sighting of this creature happened in 1889. And this is the first like recorded, written down. This person is real, and they saw a bunch of stuff and they talked about it. So this guy's name was Captain James C. Kerr, Kerr, who ran the steamboat that was named the U.S. Grant. So Captain Kerr claimed that he and 100 of his passengers all saw an unusually large whale-like object in the water. One of the passengers aboard the steamer, because he was a steamboat captain, reportedly shot at the creature, which sent it diving down for safety. So not only did this captain see it, but I mean, as a captain or like a seafaring type person, anyone in that kind of role, they have to keep records. They have to keep records of every voyage, every trip that they take. And so 100 of his passengers and himself saw this huge creature. You got to put it down. You got to write about it. You have to say, hey, we saw something crazy. And so it's kind of crazy that the first recording was not just one person seeing it, it was him plus 100 other people. What makes it a little unique as far as like sightings go. I was actually able to verify that Captain Care was a real person. So I found his obituary. It was printed in the Daily Missoula's newspaper on April 30th of 1909. The obituary reads that a miner dispatch, so like a mine, they send like kind of updates and stuff to Missoula at this time. So any relevant information can be printed in the newspaper. So they reported to this newspaper that Captain James Caird, age 72, had died suddenly in the pilot house for the steamboat named Klondike on Flathead Lake. So it was a different steamboat, or it had been renamed, but it was still on Flathead Lake, and he had died due to heart disease. It also states that he had come to Montana in 1886, so 2 years prior to the sighting, where he and 100 people had seen this creature. So he had built and navigated the first steamer on Flathead Lake for that whole 12 years that like he had lived there. He lived there for 12 years, and been basically the first and the most prolific steamboat captain in that area. He was well known in Idaho and the surrounding lakes. Actually, before he even moved to like Montana, he had lived in Michigan so that he could steamboat the Great Lakes. So he moved from Michigan to Montana. He had been through Idaho, he'd been to British Columbia, Washington, and just been a very, very well-known steamboat captain. And so people trusted this man, and his word was, you'd take it as he was being honest. So if he says there's a giant monster in the water, there's probably a giant monster in the water.
Yeah.
So it was very, very interesting. It was a very interesting like record that I was able to find. But that's the first one. But there are so many contemporary reports of this creature being seen, which when you hear about legends, especially ones that are over 100 years old, it's kind of like like when we talked about like the Moon Eye people, all of like the legend are very significantly old. A lot of them are Native American legends. There's no current sightings really, but this one, they have an average of 1 to 2 sightings consistently reported every year, even to this day. And it had reached a cap of 13 sightings in 1993. So there are people who have seen this monster. I mean, quite a few in 1993, but every single year, 1 to 2 sightings have been reported. And I did actually find a map. It was a very interesting map, and it was like kind of how people had they had it like the whole lake. Oh. My car wanted to shut off. No. If it beeps like that, I'll try to keep it from shutting off. But this map basically had like a C like for creature sightings, and then like an F for like if it was less than 10 feet long, like they would classify it as like a fish, because there were like sturgeon in this area. There were very, very large fish in this area. Anytime you have a significantly deep lake, you're gonna have huge fish. Like, I mean, I live close to like Twin Gorge Reservoir, and people go like trophy fishing for these gigantic lake trout that are like the same weight as like a small adult, so it's not like unheard of to see like giant fish, but not like 20-foot long fish generally. So local residents refer to the creature as Flessie, Flessie, which they were inspired. Yes, yep. So we have a picture here. And there are a few pictures, and honestly, they look very, very similar to like the Loch Ness monster, which is kind of where the local residents also got their nickname, Flessy. I haven't seen this particular picture, but I mean, if they're saying that this thing was
Yeah.
there and then all of a sudden it wasn't,
Um,
that's
yeah, I didn't
what do
have
you
any
have?
info on it, but it came up as somebody taking that picture. So
Okay.
interesting.
I I mean, it could be like so. A lot of the reports say that it does have like a back ridge. Some people say it has flipper. Um, I mean, most of the reports are pretty consistent as it being more eel-like or snake-like. But there are a few here and there that say it has like these other type features, or maybe they are associating it with the Loch Ness monster. Which, I mean, the name Flessy comes from the play off of the Loch Ness monster is Nessie. So you know, local residents make a little fun of it. Yeah, and people say that it does look very, very similar to that. Some people do say that they have seen like flippers coming up out of the water. Um, so some witnesses identify it as 6 to 10 feet, or as a 6 to 10 foot long fish, which in the map that I had mentioned specifically classifies that more along the lines of like a sturgeon. They're not taking that as like a very serious witness because it very well could be a sturgeon. Um, but there are others that refer to it as much larger. There we go.
If you guys have never seen anybody who's online here with us, if you have never seen a sturgeon, they really look prehistoric. I'm going to show one as McKenna's talking. Did you hear me?
Oh, hold on one second.
Oh,
Yep, one second
not,
here. Can you guys hear me?
remember,
Having a little
yeah,
technical thing.
McKenna's on location, so it's kind of hard for her. Anyway, yeah, we've got you.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to turn off my headphones and hopefully everything works fine here. You guys can hear
Yeah,
me?
we
We're
have you.
good? We're going to keep going.
Yep.
Missed what you said,
Yep.
Colleen. What was it that you said?
If people haven't seen a sturgeon, here's a picture of a sturgeon. Really doesn't look anything like what people are saying they're seeing.
Yeah. They
They are
explain
very
it like a
prehistoric.
wavy body.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting. And we do have freshwater eels. So there are freshwater eel species that are out there that are in lakes and rivers, right? Lots
That's
of
true.
eels. But that's pretty large. Not to say they couldn't get that large, but maybe they can. I don't know.
Yep. What I think of is like when you mention eels, or when people mention eels, I think of like Princess Bride, like the screaming eels or the flesh-eating eels.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of. But so there's actually, I mean, there's our first eyewitness, and then there's our contemporary, like eyewitnesses that are continuing to grow. I think it's like the number is about 130, maybe a little bit more of contemporary witnesses. There is also Kootenai legends. So the Kootenai tribes, we're in Kootenai County. Prior to settlers coming to the area, told stories of a great creature inhabiting what they referred to as Monster Lake. So like the Flathead Lake was Monster Lake to these indigenous people. But they had a story. So this one was actually told to like a monster enthusiast that researches the Flathead's monster. They're Kootenai elders. They're named Catherine and Louise Andrew. So they shared this story, and it's a bird's wife who used to feed wild huckleberries to a friendly lake creature. But when the bird's jealous husband discovered this, he killed the monster, and the creature's body became what is now known as Sullivan Hill, which is near Elmo, the town of Elmo, on the town's western shore, or on the lake's western shore. So this legend goes back pretty far. There's kind of like a widely believed that there's not just one creature in this lake, that there's 5 or 6 or 7, that a species that's in this lake, which I find particularly interesting. Like you wouldn't just see one creature. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that hundreds and hundreds of years, one thing has lived in this lake, which, I mean, you'd have to live a long time to grow that much generally, you'd think. But also whale calves are born and they're like 500 pounds. So kind of crazy.
Yeah. You'd have to have a viable population to keep it going. There has to be,
Right.
So.
Yeah, and what is also interesting, and why I believe there are so many sightings, is that this lake is considered like one of the clearest, one of the most beautiful lakes in the United States. It is insanely clean. It is insanely clear, and it actually is a glacier lake. So it was a glacier at one point that had melted. And if you know anything, if you've ever been to a glacier lake or you looked up a picture of glacier lakes, they are insanely clear. The water is so pure. There's no floating sediment. There's no pollution. So this lake is very, very clear, which may be why there are more sightings of this creature in this particular area. But it just kind of, it blows my mind personally, because there are so many current sightings. It's history. There's older sightings still within our history, and then there's contemporary sightings. But what they kind of listed, examples of witnesses. They kind of, because it's a huge range of people, the diversity of the range of people that have actually seen this creature or claim to have seen this creature is insane. So what I read was examples of witnesses are listed as mothers, doctors, lawyers, biologists, engineers, anglers, and policemen. And like there's lots of anglers, lots of fishermen that claim to see creatures, claim to see mermaids, and you just kind of like take that with a grain of salt, because they've been out in the middle of nowhere for so long. They don't know what the heck they're talking about. But your doctors and your lawyers and your police officers are seeing this thing and making official reports about it. That's where it's like, okay, this isn't just some fisherman story.
Yeah.
But the diversity and like the frequency of these sightings has like greatly been attributed to like the credibility of this legend and basically kept it alive.
Right. Yeah. Jason said that he looked at the pictures and it looks like Loch Ness. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I mean, kind of, we've discussed, I mean, as long as this Wednesday podcast, this amazing podcast that I love and I'm so grateful for, has been going, there's been connections and correlations of a lot of the legends that we've discussed. There's a consistency as far as like Bigfoot type creatures, giants. Like we've specifically talked about giants, red-haired giants that were here in the United States, and then the red-haired giants in Afghanistan, and the similarities between these creatures. Why shouldn't we think that like a similarly shaped, size type creature that is here in the U.S. wouldn't also be in Scotland? It is too, there's too much relative to think otherwise.
When you think about time, like when you look at the continents, right, we were taught that perhaps all of the continents were joined at one time. And if you shove them all together, you can see how they fit like puzzle pieces, and that big faults and big earthquakes and big, events broke things apart. So it makes sense that if you have a species, they were probably pretty well dispersed, and then everything broke apart. So then you have the Australian version of the American version of the English version. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something interesting, I'm going to kind of reference our first series a little bit here. So since you mentioned like how we had one supercontinent, which was Pangea. So the first series that I did was the Appalachian series. And so there's a website that you can go to. If I'll have to find it. It's in my bookmarks and my saved stuff. But there's a website where you can go and look up like the specific years, or like 50 million years ago, 100 million years ago, to like see the transition from full Pangea to what the Earth is today. And it's very, very interesting to see, like a little, yeah, exactly. And you can watch the changes in the topography, how the oceans change, how the land itself changes. It's very, very interesting. I don't know if I had mentioned this during our Appalachian series, but the Appalachian mountain range is the most consistent mountain range and the oldest mountain range that remained unchanged through the formation or deformation of Pangea and into what we now know as the
No, I didn't know that.
7 continents.
I know that the Appalachian Mountain was geologically, it was created by folding, where the Rockies and all of these, all of our mountain ranges out west are uplift, right? It's the tectonic plates pushing up. But the Appalachians were made because everything was getting squeezed together, and you can actually see it on Google Earth. You can see the pushing
Yes.
and compressing. And so that's what
Yep.
made the Appalachians. So it's very different. Yeah.
Yes, it's very, very different.
Interesting.
I imagine it's different, magnetically, energy-wise, but because the land was essentially formed already and compressed together, like it's the oldest. A lot of mountain ranges are newer, by billions or millions of years, but that one, yeah, there's a reason that a lot of stuff does happen there. But it's also the whole formation that changes, like it's why we see a lot of consistencies between legends on opposite sides of the earth.
Very interesting stuff.
It's really kind of inspirational, there's so much controversy and like toxic media about division and people disliking each other or creating conflict with one another because of their differences, when in reality we all come from the same place. We're all human, and we all have our own like legends and stories that are so similar. So it's a really cool lesson, even outside of the cryptid part of it. So that's why I love this so much.
Very, very cool. It stands to reason. So I remember, so my background is, first off, it was in meteorology, and then I went into environmental science. So, and that's the field I work in now. But I remember doing a lot of reading on Loch Ness and how the locks were not, they were part of the ocean. They had direct channels to the ocean at one time, and then the locks became separate, right? So like a giant lake, an enormous lake. So it stands to reason, if there's something, and we find new species, right, in the oceans and in the jungles. We find new species pretty consistently. Oh wow, we didn't know that existed, like the deer in South America that has gills on its nose.
Oh, that sounds
right?
awesome.
So I know they find new species all the time. So, and we certainly don't know very much about the ocean. We know quite a bit, but it's really big, right? And very, very deep.
Yeah.
So, these animals, if these amphibian type, which they could be amphibian, I don't know, we don't know, right? But if they were the loch was connected to the ocean, and then you had a population of them that got, maybe through tectonic activity, whatever, all of a sudden are cut off, they have no choice but to learn to survive in the loch, right? And I don't remember, I think, is the loch considered, I can't remember now, is that freshwater or saltwater? I can't remember. Or I don't remember, but it stands to reason that we have species that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
In some of these really deep water places.
Yeah, and that does kind of bring up like another interesting topic, or like another thought essentially. I'm gonna do a little more research on like the glacial melting patterns, like specifically in areas that's now the UK and Scotland, because this water from this particular lake was a glacier. So, I mean, really, it could have like the creatures could have come from the glacier itself. There's perfectly preserved specimens that have been frozen, like the girl that had been frozen and perfectly preserved in Peru,
Right.
that was Incan. And
Right.
you gotta wonder, like, you can freeze a goldfish and, like, literally in your freezer, you can put it in your freezer. Don't do this.
Don't do
It's
this at
probably,
home, people. Please don't do this at home.
yeah, don't do this. It's mean. But, like, there's been studies where people will put their goldfish in a freezer and then thaw it out and leave it in its tank, and it's totally fine. So amphibious
that's wild.
creatures are very resilient that way. They're cold-blooded. They're cold-blooded creatures. So it also could be this creature, this family of creatures could have come from a similar chunk of ice that ended up being the Loch Ness monster's home, or the like origin water. I challenge accepted.
Max.
No,
No.
Max. No.
Max.
Don't freeze a fish, please. No animal cruelty
Well,
is condoned on this podcast.
no, no eating of critters of any kind. Thank you.
Yes, I tried to save a bird yesterday, and they got hit by a car. It didn't live, but I did get it off the road before it was squished. So,
Oh,
don't freeze your goldfish, Max.
yeah, don't.
But it's interesting, you know, like these creatures could be exactly the same, you know, and I mean, we may never know. Someone, like, people claim to have caught this creature and it ends up just being a sturgeon. Max, I swear I will come over there. Don't make me fight you, Max. I'm small, but I'm feisty.
Yeah. Well,
but no, it's interesting.
It is an interesting topic. We have Bear Lake in our neck of the woods down here, right? People swear they've seen the Bear Lake monster, and it looks similar to the Loch Ness, so it's similar to the Flathead Lake. So why? I don't know. Is it just people just creating stories, and so I don't know, or there? I don't know that anybody's actually had a photograph of anything in Bear Lake, but anyway, it's pretty interesting.
I mean, yeah, psychologically, we are like programmed to recognize certain things. A lot of things are ingrained in our brains and that are instinctual from thousands and thousands of years ago. Like why we see faces in pieces of toast or whatever. Like that is a biological, like, survival response. Right. Tammy's ready for her question here. I'll hurry and wrap up, but like we have all these ingrained survival responses from thousands of years of living essentially indigenously in the wilds, learning to survive, and that's why we recognize things as they are. But there's also, you know, that spiritual connection. A very interesting topic. Yeah, great discussion today.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you so much, McKenna. And we'll get into the readings now. And so Tammy was the first one that asked a question. Susie, or do you have this one? Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready for her. I've been studying on it too while you guys were talking. So first off, I'm sorry for your loss with Steve. He also is coming through. He's saying that right now at this time you kind of feel a little bit at loose ends, kind of lost, not knowing what to do. You feel like everything that you try to do, you keep coming up against a wall, kind of hitting some obstacles. But he said that very soon, if you just stop trying to force it, you'll have that revelation come through of the direction you need to go. So I've gotten a few different layers here. So that was kind of the overall layer. The second layer is he's saying it is absolutely safe for you to love again if you so choose. Okay. He said you still have a lot of love left to give, and that's really amazing because you're such a caring person. And then the other layer I got, which is really interesting, it just keeps coming back that you might have another addition coming into the family soon. So I've got like, yeah, it's like, it feels like a grandchild possibly. It's, you know, it's a little bit off there, but it's a big possibility. Yeah, so if you'd like anything deeper, just go ahead and feel free to reach out. So we could go deeper.
Susie. Celeste, we have a question from Lainey, and it's any messages from my loved ones or health suggestions?
I don't know if this one is for you or this one could have been for the last person or this could be for someone else. But I did see an image of somebody presenting a bouquet of flowers. And to me, that is often like a happy birthday, happy anniversary. So I don't know if that applies to somebody, but it was a male and handing a female a bouquet of light colored, like white, pink, yellow roses. So I did see that while we were talking. As far as health questions, I feel like maybe there's something that my dog's going to start barking. I just know it. There may be something that you've been questioning or thinking about as far as your health. And I don't know if I would use the term putting it off or not thinking it's a big deal. Anytime we put our energy into thinking about, worrying about, or something like that, we are diminishing our immune system. And so sometimes if there is something you're concerned with, it would be better to get it checked to either ease your mind or be able to be on top of it. I don't feel that there's anything major, but there could be something underlying. Usually we get signs when there's something going on, whether it's our blood pressure or our hormones are off or thyroid, blood sugar, whatever it is. And I knew my dog was going to start barking. But I would suggest if there is anything that you've been feeling concerned about, an annual physical, the annual blood tests, or different things like that, because like I said, the more we sit and think and ponder, whether it's consuming or just occasionally, it depletes. That stress is really bad for our immune system and our overall health. Getting out and going for a walk is way better than sitting and wondering. Either do something to have some tests ran, or try to find something positive, drinking more water, trying to get more rest, doing meditation, going for a walk, things like that. But I don't feel like there's anything major that you need to worry about. But sometimes if we catch small things, then they never develop into anything worse. So
Thank you,
right.
Celeste.
I will be right back. Maybe I will be right back.
Okay, Susie, you have Sherry's question.
Yeah. So overall, Sherry, for your family for this summer, I see a lot of opportunities opening up for you guys. And you and Dave are going to have to sit down and decide which ones to take, because you're almost going to have so many opportunities presented to you this summer. You're going to be like, I don't know which one to do, because it's like too many choices. Does that make sense? But it's right now is a good time for you guys, of course, because you guys have learned how to do it. So you know how to manifest those things in your life that you really want. And you two are an excellent team. So just sit down and write it out, what you guys want to work on together, and it'll happen. But yeah, it looks like you're going to have a lot of really cool opportunities over this summer come to you.
Right. And I think Celeste is probably wrangling Snoopy, Pup Snoopy.
Yeah.
So we can give her a couple of minutes to get back here. But David is asking if he and Celeste, you may want to take this one. This Susie just did Sherry, so David is asking if you have a general message, just a general reading.
I'm feeling like there's some thinking going on, maybe of taking a different avenue in life, whether that is new career, maybe relocating. I feel like there's a shift or a change. So whether that's getting a new house, a new apartment, a new job, something that you've been thinking about that potentially is coming up. I can't say for sure which one of those things, maybe all of those things, I don't know. But definitely look into it. It seems like that there could be some opportunity in different directions coming up for you.
Thank you. And Susie, if you could take Regina.
Yeah, I've got Evelyn here. So this is for Evelyn. Don't be too sad about that person that walked away from you that you thought you were going to like build something with, because they weren't the right one. But you do have someone coming towards you that wants some sort of commitment with you, and they're coming in pretty hot. So you've got the Knight of Wands and the Ace of Wands, and sometimes, that comes across as very passionate need by that person, and they just think that you're the bee's knees. Like they think that you are just almost literally a goddess, and so
Wow.
just
Watch
don't
out
let
for
them
that
put you
word,
on the
though. That
pedestal. Huh?
watch out for the word goddess. Like
Right.
the Lori Vallow thing. Just watch out for that.
Right. Yeah, just don't let them put you on a pedestal, but they're coming in hot and heavy, and they're looking to gain something from you. It doesn't look like it's a bad thing though. Just, take her easy.
Thank you. And then Gina, if you have Trista.
Yes. I know you had some questions that we were going to talk about personally, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an expansion on that without going into details. Anytime I think would be a good time to get together and talk on that. Things have settled down quite a bit. I had been getting information, but it was there was an altered state that was involved in your relative's life at the moment that they crossed. And that sometimes can cause, it doesn't cause, but the soul goes through a different progression as it crosses when they're not fully cognizant sometimes, or they have there's some regret stuff that was going on, imbalances, different things like that. So as far as that goes, it would be a better time now than when you had first talked to me about it. The other thing that
Hold on, Celeste. Your audio just disappeared.
One of us is going to have to get good at reading lips.
Hold on. I don't know how you ended up on mute. Let me unmute you.
okay, that is weird.
That's weird.
That is super weird. Okay. Maybe I was going to tell something I'm not supposed to say in front of the whole world. But that's weird. I'm like, I'm on the new computer. What? But I feel like you need to know that you need to not question your own intuition. I feel like you're receiving. Okay, I'm the worst person in the universe. I do readings for other people all the time, but whenever it's for myself, I need a signier sign, like billboard lights, strobes going off. And it's crazy because every single time when I look back, it's like, yeah, there was lots of signs or lots of answers. And I feel like you're getting intuitive thoughts and feelings. And the thing about our intuition is we need to listen to it. We need to trust it. It's not end all be all, but that's how we strengthen that muscle and strengthen that ability, is when we pay attention to it. Whether you make little notes in a journal, like if you have an unusual dream, or if you just get a weird feeling, especially in the car. Oh my gosh, I was driving in 5 o'clock traffic coming home from Idaho Falls today, and that was ridiculous, added to the construction. But anyway, when we get those little hints, sometimes it could be a little warning that could protect us from maybe an auto accident, or getting caught up, in a situation with long lines or, things that are not totally life altering. But the more we pay attention to those little signs and signals, then the other things that are really important are going to come through more clearly, because we've kind of sharpened that sense up, if that makes sense. Anyway, but yeah, you need to lean into that a little bit.
Okay. Thank you, Celeste. I'm not sure if this is like a reading question on Tammy. How is it possible to? Can you take that one? Okay.
Yeah, and then if Celeste wants Trista, that's fine. But I've got Trista's if she's ready to. But so Tammy, every love that comes along is not going to be the same as the one that you had last time. So you can open your heart to someone new, and it doesn't have to be in the same capacity. Like, you don't have to marry them. You could just be really close to them. You could have a really close male friend that you don't need to necessarily marry, but you can actually love that person. Does that make sense? I mean, every single type of love is going to be different because we're all different people when we enter into that. But just getting out there and interacting with your peers and getting into some of those groups, that'll help open up your heart again. Start wearing the color green and keeping green around you. That'll help open your heart chakra. And do a lot of meditation and just be open to whatever the universe wants to send you, and you'll be okay. You got anything for that too, Celeste?
It's hard to even imagine feeling love again, especially when you're in the absolute midst of a loss. So I don't think Susie was meaning like tomorrow you're going to start dating or anything like that, but just being open to allowing friendships to form, allowing a support system to build, whether that's with males or females. We can have great companionship with anyone. And I think it was more of a be happy. Life is for the living. And even though some of us would like to join our friends and family that have crossed, we need to live our lives and to try to find peace and happiness in that.
And I can answer her next question at the bottom where it says, does he have another person he's interested in? On the other side, no. I can tell you by just feeling him, he's not worried about that right now. He's had that experience with you. Right now, he's learning new things. He's improving himself. He's growing. He's stretching the bounds of the things that he did not know or understand on this earth. He is learning on the other side. So don't even worry about that. And love is so different because it's non-confining. We have enough room for everyone as long as we just open ourselves up to that. I mean, when my diabetes drops, I'll tell you what, and I'm in the middle of Walmart, my blood sugar starts going. I start having love for all humanity. Every single one of them pajama clad weirdos that smell in there, I love them. So it is so possible, my dear. Just realize that it's not limiting at all.
Yeah, okay, so we have a lot of people that have joined the show. If you guys have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. And make sure that you are copying down Celeste and Susie's phone numbers, and so that you can reach out to them and make an appointment for a full reading. Tammy, you might want to do that to get a full reading here. So let's see, who else has some questions? Lizette, I know you showed up, and but yeah, so Tammy, I do recommend that maybe you reach out to these ladies and get a full reading. This sounds like you have a lot of stuff that you want to go through, and that a full reading is definitely, trust me, I've had the readings done. They're worth the money to go and get a full reading done. I'll post the numbers for you again, Tammy. I'll put them in the chat, and you can write them down. and reach out to these ladies and get a reading done.
So since Tammy's watching from my Facebook, I can post those on my page, or you can go to Emergency Encounters on YouTube. They're always on there. It doesn't translate for some reason. It's on the Emergency Encounters like Facebook page and the YouTube, but it doesn't post directly to mine. So I will have to do that.
Okay, well, Tammy, I can read them down. I'll read them out to you. So if somebody, I did not know that. Thank you, McKenna. So, okay, so let's get Susie's number for Susie's readings is 208-339-7399. And Celeste is 208-241-7989. So please reach out. And then these lives actually stay up on our Emergency Encounters YouTube page. So anytime you're missing their phone numbers, you can go back and scroll through the chats, and those phone numbers are going to be there. Okay,
yeah.
so
it is on our live. I posted it on our live on my page last week. I just didn't have it all saved in because I'm following the link from my email, and it's a little bit weird because I'm back on my phone instead of on my computer while we're traveling. So it's a little weird. I'll try and figure it out so I can post it.
Thank you. Celeste, do you want to take Regina's question?
I don't. I don't know anything about hockey. I don't know. Will the cards answer questions about hockey?
We can try.
Yeah. I'm like, I am not a huge sports fan, and hockey. I actually watched my first live hockey game this year. Yeah.
Is there any energy associated with her question, like whether you feel it's going to be successful or not? Or
well, that's a lot of like. It can be, but there's a lot of people that come into play in with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, lots of variables.
Herself, yes, she's going to be successful herself. But that's also down to her mindset. Now, it's hard to determine how the entire team's going to go, or this team versus that team, or the coaches, because there's so many free agencies, so many other wills coming into play. So as long as she's having fun and enjoying what she's doing, that's all she really needs to worry about. Sorry,
so I can help. I can help narrow this down a little bit. She may have an opportunity with hockey, and they kind of want like a general. Do we feel that this energy is coming to her? So if we can feel anything kind of that way, it's an opportunity.
So is
not
hockey
like a regular team?
Okay, so is hockey her like future life path?
Right.
Switching teams. Okay.
Right, and maybe kind of a timeline.
Okay. Well, right now it's showing the surface energy that change is coming, and she is going to be like having a hard decision and trying to figure out what to do. It's definitely saying don't fear change. She's going to have to use her own judgment and her own intuition on it, because it is her life, right? To figure out if that's what she wants to do. Hold on just one second.
While Susie's reading that, I'm going to show Trista's question for Celeste.
I was going to tell you what you need to do is you need to put your mind to it and listen to your intuition. Usually we do not get an idea without some sort of something sending it to us, if that makes sense. Or we are seeking something, whether we're conscious or subconsciously looking for a change, looking for a different direction. And
are you speaking to
I'm speaking to
Trista?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you are thinking of changing jobs, then you just need to focus on finding the best job. I would suggest manifesting, thinking, send me in the right direction, put me in touch with the right people, because a lot of times we get new jobs because of who we know as much as what we know. And so you wouldn't have gotten the idea or started thinking about it if this wasn't something that was definitely a possibility to benefit you.
Thank you, Celeste.
Okay,
and Susie.
To the hockey question is a yes, but she's going to have to make sure that there are good solid boundaries down and she keeps her goals in mind. But the drama from the other one, she's going to be able to leave behind as long as she keeps those boundaries up and doesn't, let all that pettiness get to her. Just keep that solid goal up here. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to accomplish. And it shows that things will balance out for her, and the universe has got her back on that decision.
Great. And Trista said that makes sense. It's been a thought for a while, and it's just been more in my head. Too many changes with current job, and not in a good way. Thank you so much. That's awesome. So,
I'm going to add to that because I pulled on Trista a little bit too, because I got kind of like confused which one we were doing a while back. And it shows that, Trista, you're one tough cookie. You really are. You are such a tough cookie, and you already know what serves you and what doesn't serve you. So cutting those things out is just going to be to your benefit. But also be adaptable when it comes time to change. Be able to be like the grass around the tree. The tree doesn't move, but the grass bends with the wind.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we already have the answers. We struggle with making the decision. Yeah.
Or we're hoping for a different answer, but
we don't like the answer. We know the truth and we don't like to hear it. And so
sign, right, Celeste?
Yeah.
Keep attacking it from 50 different directions. Yeah. Let's see. Lizette, you're being awfully quiet tonight. And David. Yeah. And Trista said, thank you so much. Yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, it's I think I know a lot of people use pendulums to help make decisions if they're stuck, right? Because if you've never used a pendulum, they're pretty interesting. Can be anything you want, can be your favorite necklace. But if you concentrate on a question that you know to be yes, and watch the movement, because every day it's going to be a little different, right? But you watch how it swings or circles, and then you ask the question that you're struggling with, and watch that direction. Is it the same direction as just that the question just that you ask that you know to be a yes, like is my middle name X, right? Because your body is telling you, your body will tell you. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah. Okay, let's see.
That reflex. Yeah, in there.
Yeah. Let's see. We did have another question from Tammy. She wants to know if her daughter Shell is going to have a baby.
I think that's the one where I said there's a possibility, because that you, Tammy, were the possibility that you would have another family member coming in.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
Yeah,
you did. Yeah. Trista was talking about when I talked about pendulums. She says they're interesting, and I can't do because Quana gets them all going. Quana's energy. That's funny. For those of you who don't know, Trista and Quana are very dear friends of ours and on our paranormal team. So, yes.
I have no idea what it means for your energy to affect other things in the universe.
No, not at all.
Never happened.
Smart stereos and cell phones and computers.
Did you like my little poking you when you were down in your phone thing or whatever? Oh, are you having technical difficulties?
Juana would like a reading too. If Susie, are you doing? Who's doing what now? You're done with the Tammy's family question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Either of you have a reading for Juana this evening?
You can pull cards if you want. But what I'm feeling is there's either been some maybe depression, some self-doubt, or some heaviness that maybe has been affecting her. I feel like she is kind of a shy person sometimes anyway, but this is kind of got her more retreating than usual, and she needs to work on coming back out, as I'm telling myself the same things that I need to hear. But it's been a rough year in a lot of ways. The energy's been crazy and everything else. And the sun is out again and the weather is getting nice, unless you have allergies like me. And then it's like, is it going to be better or worse when I go outside? But I feel like, I don't know if you're working on anything to improve some of just your overall how you're feeling, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. It just has not been as optimistic or positive as you normally should be. And by should, I mean will or choose to be. But things are, and I'm telling this to myself too, things are going to get better. But that constant mantra of everything is going to work out in the best possible way for me. And a lot of times we have to go through that change, that destruction of things in order to build the new, stronger things that are more appropriate for our lives.
Yeah.
Quana, go take a walk out in the nature, because I can feel you've been neglecting that. And that is something that's very, very good for your own personal soul. You need to be in the nature. And when you're out there, I want you to either out loud say it or in your head say it. Every single little thing that you're grateful for. If you're grateful for Trista, if you're grateful that you got up and you had a breath of fresh air that morning, you're grateful for the soft pillow you had at night. Just focus on everything that you're grateful for, and that will help to ease all of that depression and that anxiety, and having, being in the outdoors, being in the woods will help you tremendously. Very healing.
That's always good advice to learn how to be great. Not to learn, but to remember. I think most of us are grateful for stuff, but then we get caught up and we don't practice saying thank you. And so when Susie and I got back from our investigation, and tomorrow night, just so y'all know, if you didn't watch our live stream investigation from Sunday, tomorrow on Emergency Encounters at 7 live, we're going to talk about our investigation. And I didn't tell you this, Susie, if you wanted to come on, you're welcome to come on. But it was wild. But anyway, on the way when we got home, I was really tired. It was a long drive. It's like what, 3 hours over there?
Yeah.
It's exhausting to drive over there, investigate all day, and then drive all the way back. I was tired, and I said, I'm like, thank you, universe, for letting us get home safe and sound. Thank you. And sometimes you have to go stop and say thank you, because it's tough. I don't remember. I don't remember half the time. Quana said thank you so much, and she knows what it is, and what the cloud is. Yeah. So Mad Max said he's thankful for Mud Lover.
We are
Mad
too.
Max and Mud Lover are also on our team, just so y'all know, and we had a great investigation. So so make sure you go back. You can watch the live stream is posted, and you can watch our show tomorrow, because I'm gonna fill in the Emergency Encounters team about what happened, and Mad Max and Mud Lover will be there. It's their first live show with us tomorrow night, so they're pretty stoked. So we're gonna talk about our experiences, and Susie was spot on with it was actually a very emotional night and or emotional investigation. I don't think there was a dry eye in the place for part of it. It was really something. So we are out of time. Thank you so much, Tammy. I hope that you have those phone numbers. If not, please reach out to McKenna and she will get them for you. You can always send us messages on our YouTube, our Facebook, and we can send those phone numbers as well. And make sure you guys are reaching out to Celeste and Susie. They do readings for a living. Whatever financial agreement you come up with these two ladies is between you two, but they're really amazing. And yeah, we're always floored every night. So thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
guys.
Night.
Bye.